oversee the operation and administration of the Dryden Police Service. So I have a staff of 20 police officers as well as 8 full-time dispatchers. And the Police Services Act wants to make sure that the level of policing in Dryden is the same as the level of policing anywhere else. So my duties as the chief are pretty well prescribed under the Police Services Act, and I maintain the operation and administration of the police service, any discipline issues, ensure that we deliver an adequate and effective police service under the adequacy standards set out in the Police Services Act, and big picture, promote public safety within the city of Dryden. The area I'm most proud of is the foot patrol, because when I came in, again, it was very clear that the public wanted to see that increased presence of officers on foot patrol downtown in the parks. And pretty consistently every month, I report to the Police Services Board every month, and pretty consistently we're seeing 4 times the number of hours in the last year compared to the year previous and the year previous to that. So I'm really proud that the officers, forgive the pun, stepped up for the foot patrol to get out there and do that. And I'm out there as well. I'm quite often out on foot. I'm a firm believer that it's a great way to improve our communication with the community. And there's also the health aspect. I had a good friend of mine in policing drop dead of a heart attack at 42, and there's enough research out there to show that if police get out and engage in some physical activity for half an hour a day, we add years to our lives. So for me, it's one, the community wanted it, but 2, for the health and well-being of the officers and myself. I think it's important we be out there on foot. We need to improve our efforts in combating drugs. We know drugs is a problem in Dryden as well as the rest of northwestern Ontario. The issues around Oxycontin continue even with the new formulation of it. It's still an issue. But the issue is not isolated to Dryden. It's a province-wide issue, and I will go so far as to suggest it's a Canadian-wide issue. So there's, if I had to set a priority for myself in 2013, it would be to streamline our efforts to work with our stakeholders to make sure we're more effective in tackling the drug issues. Referencing the foot patrol, we maintain that through the winter months as well, where we have a dedicated community services officer in Constable Kevin Hildebrandt, and he's been phenomenal. Traditionally, we targeted the schools, but he's taken it to a new level, targeting the schools as well as the senior groups, the parents. He's really engaging all aspects of what makes Dryden a community. So we're really doing that to engage everybody. We work closely with Neighborhood Watch. I've never seen a city with the overwhelming support of a Neighborhood Watch program as I'm seeing in Dryden. So that's great, because that's an extra set of eyes and ears out there for us. We're being more proactive in our investigations. When something comes on our radar, we're proactive in getting out there and looking at it rather than waiting for a crime to occur. So, and that's, again, that's not unique to Dryden. That's where policing is evolving to. It's called intelligence-led policing. It's a natural, it helps us as police chiefs understand what the issues are in our community, analyze the data so that we're deploying the resources in the most effective and efficient way. We had our student patrol. We had 2 summer students that were completed high school and waiting to go off to post-secondary education. In the years past, we always had a student program, but there wasn't much structure to it. So what we did is we had the students really, again, intelligence-led policing. We knew where the instances of vandalism were, so we were instructing those officers to be very visible on foot, on bike, and we set their hours so that it wasn't 8 to 4, because we know the vandalism generally isn't occurring 8 to 4. So we offset their hours so they were out there at sunset and different hours to try and deter it, or if they did come across it, call it into the full-time officer so they could get in there and deal with it. Beyond that, Neighborhood Watch has been a great ally, and just public education. We find that the business owners in town have been great. People that have instances of vandalism are quick to address it, like clean up if it's tagging of any sort. We're seeing that it's quickly addressed, so that really helps us. Unfortunately, that's again a commonality in most towns, that when there's a lack of things for the youth to be engaged in, the old adage about idle hands. And so I think that's what we saw this summer, was the instances of idle hands. And once school went in, we saw it, our numbers of incidents of vandalism drop correspondingly. For the Dryden Police Service, it is going to impact us. We had an extra, we're an authorized strength of 21 police officers. With that funding being cut, we had to make a conscious decision. Do we ask the city to carry that burden, or do we operate with one less? Given the financial situation in Dryden, I would not put that burden on the public. I sat down with our officers and we had a healthy discussion that really, if one really looks at it, that funding was an extra body. And our calls for service, while they haven't increased to the extent that we need to have that body backfilled. So I guess to summarize your question, what my answer would be is, on the front line, what the citizens of Dryden are going to see, they'll see no change. Our service levels will appear the same. Internally, we've had to retool how we deploy. So there's been some changes in the shifts and who's working what jobs and what functions, but that's not going to impact the front line. So yes, it hurts, but in fairness to the government, it was never promised to be ongoing funding forever. So I don't want to be critical of the government. And in fairness, again, to the community, I would never put that burden on them to carry an extra body. So we're going to operate with 20 bodies at this time. And the front line, what the citizens see in Dryden is not going to change. We'll still be there when we're called and be out there proactively walking the beat and engaging the citizens. I don't think that we should be keeping the youth off the streets. I think that the youth have a right to enjoy everything in Dryden like everyone else. What we need to do is engage the youth in positive activities so that when they're on the youth, the elderly don't feel intimidated, other kids don't feel intimidated or bullied. So again, our community services officer, he works very closely with the youth, the parents, different community groups to sort of get that message out to the youth that you're not unwelcome in Dryden, but be positive, be productive citizens. And I have to give the school boards a lot of credit, the Catholic school board as well as the public school board, that I see that as a consistent message they're delivering to the students, is be productive citizens. So it's not something that the Dryden Police can tackle alone. We reach out to a number of stakeholders, the school board, the Dryden Native Friendship Center, the elderly organizations in Dryden, and collectively we're working to keep the youth engaged in healthy activities. I sit on the Neighborhood Legacy Committee, and there's an awesome opportunity for youth that may not be able to afford some of the activities in Dryden to access funding to tap into that. So it's all those things combined that we want to make sure the youth are engaged in healthy things in Dryden. It's not so much you're not welcome in Dryden, stay indoors and hide. If anything, I think we need to encourage, especially when you look at obesity rates and all these other things nowadays, we need to engage the youth to get out, be productive, be physically fit, but do it in a manner that no one feels threatened, bullied, scared, intimidated. So it's not just us as a police, it's all the stakeholders working to combat that. Neighborhood Watch, again, phenomenal success. The number of members, it's very encouraging for me to drive around Dryden and see the number of signs in the windows. Like I said, that's an extra set of eyes and ears, and those Neighborhood Watch members, we have to stress to them, never be afraid to call in anything. I think sometimes there's a hesitancy from Neighborhood Watch members to call stuff in thinking we're too busy to deal with it. Everything helps. That's why we're here. We're Dryden's police service. We're here to take that information and act on it. And so those people are critical. They're a key organization. Another one is the Crime Stoppers. We work closely with Crime Stoppers, and again, it is anonymous, and I think a lot of people sometimes are skeptical of that, but it is 100% anonymous, so those tips really help us. In the community, the Dryden Native Friendship Center has been really good. That was another goal I set coming into Dryden, was that I'm from Six Nations originally. It's where I grew up. Mom's from here and wound up in the south, and I did the exact opposite. I went from the south and came to the north and left briefly, and I'm back again. But so I understand the challenges for a lot of people relocating to Dryden from the northern Native communities and from other Native communities. So the friendship, I wanted to develop a comfort level with them and the police, and they've been a tremendous stakeholder for us so that we can have that open dialogue. And similar to my message with the youth is, we don't want anyone to feel you're not welcome in Dryden. I as a police service, I want the message to be that everyone's welcome here, regardless of where you're from, what your background is, and our job as the police is to ensure everybody feels safe. What I'm seeing in this role is the officers are out there. They're getting a lot of compliments from the business owners, from the citizens, from the kids, from everybody, how they're happy to see us out there. And quite often as police, we deal with people when they're at their worst or in a crisis situation. So what I'm seeing is to have that positive feedback for the officers. I'm seeing that there's more of an appetite for them to be out continuing the foot patrol. So that's great. But beyond that, what's equally, if not more important, is we're opening the door for that open dialogue, so that if you see me on the street, you have a comfort level to come up and say, hey Rob, you may not know this, but this is what's going on in Dryden in case you're not aware. And it's that type of community dialogue we have to keep Dryden safe. So that's the one thing I see as an absolute plus for the foot patrol. The other part of it that I see is our visibility. People, I'm regularly receiving compliments from the citizens of Dryden, from the business owners. We're on foot patrol in all of the schools, how happy they are to see us there, because they know that their tax dollars are at work. We're not sitting in an office. We're out there and being visible and engaging the public. So it's been really good. And again, I think the highlight of that is that increased two-way communication. It's not the police saying, here's what the issues are. It's more often the citizens saying, just so you know, here's what's going on, and we need that. That's the cornerstone of community-based policing, is that community engagement, that community feedback, because quite often people think we know what's going on, and it's hard a lot of the times for police to admit we don't know what's going on everywhere 100% of the time. And that's where the foot patrol, just to have that communication in place so people will come and engage us in conversation and give us a heads up as to things that we may not know are on the radar. And that's critical. Like where I started my policing career with Haldimand Norfolk Regional Police, I mean, it was quite a long time ago now, but that was sort of an unwritten rule. Is the first 2 hours of our shift we were on foot walking the sidewalks of downtown, so that we got to see the shop owners as they opened. We saw the kids as they were going to school. We saw the parents as they were walking them to school or going to work. And so that's never left me as a police officer, because those friendships I developed then I've maintained 22 years later. And I think that speaks to the level of trust and comfort that type of patrol builds. And so I stand behind our decision to do that here. The complaint process changed a few years back. Prior to, say, 3 years ago, if there was a complaint about the police, not just in Dryden, but any police service, you would walk into the front counter and make your complaint to that respective police service. What's happened now is the Office of Independent Police Review Directorate's been created, and so they're an autonomous body removed from the police agency that the citizen can go online to their website at just Google OIPRD, and it's Office of Independent Police Review Directorate. They have the forms online that a person can fill out, and it then goes to them and they review it. That way there's no allegations or inferences that the police are covering anything up. It goes to this neutral third-party body. They take the complaint, and then after their review, they make a recommendation to me as the chief on how we should proceed with it. If it's something lesser in nature that people don't feel warrants going to the OIPRD, I encourage people to not ever hesitate to drop by and see me at the office. If it's something minor that they don't want to go to the complaint stage but want me to be aware of, I encourage that. Again, it's all about that two-way communication. What my experience in policing has been is the public generally tend to assume we know everything that's going on in our community, and quite often we don't. And if a police officer ever tells you they know everything that's going on in their community, they're lying to you, because we don't. I've been in policing 22 years around the province, and I've worked across Canada while I was with the RCMP, and we don't. We need to have that dialogue with the community to know what's really going on, and what we may perceive as an issue as the police may not be a really significant issue to the citizenry. The citizenry may feel something else is an issue. So that's why we have to have that community-based policing. The whole cornerstone of that philosophy is the community's dialogue and engagement with us. And it's a partnership. It's not just, here police, here's what's going on, you deal with it. It's, here's an issue we want you to be aware of, and then we sit down and we explore mutually beneficial solutions, and we engage all the stakeholders so that we're all taking ownership of it. It's not just the police trying to solve problems, because quite often, in reality, we're not equipped. We get trained in certain things, and a lot of the issues facing society today are beyond a police issue. We need to engage all those stakeholders. So that community-based approach, we have to maintain that, and that open dialogue is so critical. We are Dryden's police service. We are your police service, and we're proud to be your police service. And we rely on the community dialogue, so if anyone has any concerns or any information or just wants to chat with us, they're more than welcome to contact us at the Dryden Police Service at 223-3281. Drop by. And again, it's imperative that people know that we don't know everything. So if no matter how small of an issue the citizens may think it is, don't assume that we know it's out there. Quite often that could be the missing piece we need to ensure public safety. So we're Dryden's Police Service. We're proud to be your police service. And if you see us out there, and we appreciate the communication, whether it's to just say hi or to let us know of something that's going on, or if it's a public safety concern, we're there for you. So again, I encourage the citizens to keep up the dialogue, and feel free to contact us anytime.